Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Real Football Talk. We'll be discussing the game at the Parc de France, PSG versus Man City. I mean, thrilling game to be honest, where Man City ended up winning 2-1, 2-1, two away goals really, real positive for the English side. Adil, what did you make of the fantastic start from PSG?
Yeah, first half. Majority of the first half, they were the better team, attacking threat, and yeah, they seemed to cause City a lot of problems because they're making the system work better. They're beating the press quite easily. They look sharper in possession, bringing the ball out wide, and yeah, I mean, and the key players were getting on the ball really. I thought Di Maria looked at it every time, and yeah, they had a little bit more individual quality, which was making a difference.
I mean, the first I think 3 minutes I saw like an opportunity for Paris and an opportunity for Man City, and you can tell what each team's trying to do from those two opportunities in terms of the way Paris hit Man City on the counter in the first, I think, first minute or something, and then obviously Man City go the other end. I mean, obviously the final ball didn't reach to De Bruyne, but you can see the way they were trying to build up play with De Bruyne up front. What what was the reason for Man City struggling to kind of create? Was it due to the way PSG were pressing, or was it just the system problem?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. Basically, so if you look at so PSG were playing through the middle and then going out wide to the fullbacks, and the width was coming out wide, but they were keeping the ball through the middle. And Man City were actually doing the opposite. They're playing it around the back from and they're going out wide first and trying to play into the central zone. But because PSG had everyone narrow into this covering the central zone, they couldn't get the ball into De Bruyne. And so then what happened was Bernardo Silva effectively played like a second left winger, and they tried. So the only space they had was out wide, and that's why in the first half, before the Foden chance, the only real threat they had was two Mahrez individual runs and one Bernardo Silva individual runs, all on that right hand side out wide, because that was the only space they were given. They weren't given any space down the center of the pitch because Angel Di Maria was coming in narrow. Um, Neymar was coming in narrow. And what happened when they moved Bernardo Silva out wide, then what PSG did was they moved Verratti to off the 10 position and went and picked up Bernardo Silva, kind of man marking him really. His movement, his runs is just picking it up, just so they don't get that overload. So I think the biggest difference was the way they're using their fullbacks, because City were in the first half they weren't using their fullbacks to attack. They're using their fullbacks to. I think they were expecting PSG to press them out wide and press them, all the way up high up the pitch. So they're using their fullbacks more as passers, as servers, instead of really joining in the attack and overlapping. So
But
that was the biggest difference.
do you think it's also to bear in mind because of the speed that PSG have? Pep was trying to go a bit more secure with regards to having his two pacey uh, fullbacks still staying back and not really joining in with the attack too much.
Yeah, I mean, possibly that could have been it, but on the ball, you don't expect a Pep team. I mean, they weren't even joining in. They weren't even going beyond the halfway line. Uh, so what happened was they were looking to play. I mean, they had the ball straight out wide down the line to Mahrez or Foden, but they didn't really attack down the left too much. Everything's coming down the right mainly. But the whole point was they wanted to spread the PSG press and then go inside into Bernardo and De Bruyne, but they couldn't do that because the whole PSG team went so narrow and just gave them the width basically. So that was the problem, really. And if you look at it's totally the opposite with PSG. Baka and Florenzi were getting involved all the time into the attack and pushing up in the first half. So basically, both teams just flipped the script in the second half. You had Cancelo pushing up, you had Walker overloading, and then you had Baka and Florenzi just playing as really narrow, thick defenders. And so yeah, I felt the use of the fullbacks was actually the difference in the game. Oh, there were other things City did clever in the second half. Well, last 7 minutes, from 37 minutes onwards, City actually changed their pressing as well. What happened was they were pressing without Gundogan joining in, and Gundogan and Rodri were kind of sitting and doing reactive pressing, but everyone else was doing high press. And what that was doing, that was allowing the ball to come into Gueye and Paredes and them to pop it off then out wide to the fullbacks who are now, pushing up the pitch. So yeah, they were able to really. PSG always had a spare man, and because they were being brave and confident in passing it, they were passing around the City players. So what they did is then they pushed Rodri up, and Gundogan was joining in the press. Suddenly they were fully man for man, and that's where the Foden chance comes, because suddenly everyone is packed into that corner of the pitch. Whereas before that point, they were kind of keeping themselves balanced still. They were overcommitting. And in that last 7 minutes, I think that actually gave them the key to the second half, because they realized PSG is being brave, but they're not actually committing a ridiculous amount of numbers straight away.
I mean, even the goal they got is from set piece, but the warning sign was there from the previous corner, which kind of went over all of their head all the way to Mbappe, and then he set it for Florenzi to have an effort. So the warning signs was there. And then, I mean, obviously, Gundogan doesn't do his job for the Marquinhos goal.
I don't know if I don't think it's Gundogan's job.
He was the block. He was the blocker, wasn't he, initially? So he's meant to.
But you can't block a guy who's making a run like that. I mean, so if he blocked him slightly, he would still have got to it. It's the zonal system. Really, what it was is it's just clever play from PSG. Paredes actually blocked Diaz, and it's Diaz.
Same with Baker as well.
Diaz's job would be to, meet that front post and clear it. But because Paredes blocked him and, tied him up effectively, Marquinhos, who already had the run anyway because they're doing a zonal system, was able to think. And I thought they were cute because one thing was the delivery was excellent from Di Maria, but they were mixing it where they're hitting those corners. Sometimes they're towards the back, towards the front. So
clearly something they worked on.
Yeah, and then another Paredes had at the front post from I think a Neymar corner, which he should have done better with. So yeah, definitely that set pieces was a strong area, but also the amount of corners they were getting showed how much PSG were playing with the fullbacks, overlapping and joining in the attack a lot and getting crosses in.
I mean, it's an interesting point what you made about PSG kind of working on the set pieces, because from what I saw was both the centre backs were for Man City were marked out or kind of blocked by Baker and Paredes.
Yeah.
So it seems like they were trying to stop the Man City or the headers of Man City's team from obviously getting to the ball, and then they were putting the ball into key areas where Marquinhos and other players could effectively header it in. So I mean, they done their homework, it seems.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the zonal system is one, you can get a run on a person, but also if you have traffic in the way of that spot, then you can stop the zonal man from getting to the ball ahead of the runner. So yeah, I mean, other teams have done it, and but that for that goal is just perfectly executed. Um, Marquinhos is very good at headers anyway. He's come up with big headers in especially Champions League recently. So
almost like a Sergio Ramos type, it seems like recently how he's been doing it. It's popping up with the crucial goals. With regards to second half, I mean, you kind of mentioned a few of the things that Man City changed to kind of change the momentum of the game. What else did they change in the second half to really gain full control and dominate the way they did and create? Well, the goals were kind of a bit fortunate.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of fortune, but I think that's the least of what Man City deserved for taking the game by the scruff of the neck. I mean, mentality-wise, they showed more hunger, and they kind of bullied PSG's into playing their game. And there was quite a few things that City changed. So we already mentioned they pushed the fullbacks up. They also, committed more to the press, and the whole midfield went, and they're completely, shrinking the size of the pitch where the ball was. But the other two things they did, they slightly changed their formation. So what happened was they kind of went to a 4-2-4.
Okay.
And they did that in the final, in the Carabao Cup final too, a lot of the times, where so in this time the instance was more. So what happens is, it's probably easy if we show it on the statistics screen. So if you look at that, that's how they were meant to set up. What happened in the second half was City were basically they were, they're basically like that.
Wow.
With both De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva kind of outside of the center. So there's still no one occupying the mid-central, but what that does is it allowed, and they went more to a 2. What that allowed was when the ball gets played in, it forces them to come out, and then you're seeing Foden trying to make that run in behind a lot of the times. So that's effectively what they did was they're staying outside the line of the defenders and forcing them to come out to them. And also what we mentioned was they pushed that because the whole PSG were just leaving the space out wide. So they were all coming in. So, and the other what they did, Foden came in slightly more. So Florenzi came in, and then Cancelo completely pushed up. So it ended up 5 against 4 a lot of the time at the back. Yeah, and Cancelo was free all the time. Florenzi didn't know whether to stay tucked in because every time he was about to go, one of these would make a run, and then he'd come back in. So then effectively, Cancelo was always free, and that's how they completely took charge on the ball.
But I mean, also, would you say that was very brave of City then, Adil? Because I mean,
yeah, definitely, and that's why I say they deserved the goals and the luck. And the other thing they did was they slowed down the tempo.
Yeah,
in the first half they're playing PSG's game, which was quick, fast breaks, a lot of individualism. Mahrez going on individual runs, Bernardo Silva going on individual runs. They weren't playing the City brand of football, which is pass, move, play around the press, overload. They weren't playing that way, and part of the reason is because PSG was forcing them to play too quick. Or I mean, you can't really say whether I'm not sure whether PSG was forcing them to, but City were just playing too fast. Second half, they went back to their tempo, which is a lot slower. But what that slowness does is it allows everyone to move into position. It allows Cancelo to get up the pitch. So, part of the problem was because they're attacking so fast, there was no chance for Walker or
Oh,
Cancelo to
Cancelo
get
to
in.
join in.
So, but what happened now is because they're playing at their tempo, now it's about intelligence, it's about the system, the way how you're manipulating the space, moving the opposition players. It's more of a chess game, which suits City. Both teams were comfortable in possession. They were comfortable against the press, comfortable playing with risk. But PSG were only comfortable to play at a fast tempo. Soon as they started to drop off in the energy levels and played slow, they couldn't create anything because City, and everyone knows this, are the best at every player getting back to the halfway line within seconds. I mean, it's a hard work. There's no one who doesn't put in a shift. So then what happens is suddenly with that slow tempo, and that's why in the second half, whenever Neymar got the ball, he was getting fouled, but it's always around the halfway line. That's how deep he had to get on the ball, and then they're fouling him. When he tries turning, Mbappe had no space to get on the ball. There was the ball in behind wasn't on anymore. Di Maria wasn't a factor anymore, and that was because the energy levels dropped. They were going too slow. And the other thing was Florenzi and Bacca were not joining in anymore on the attack. So basically, I just think PSG went too negative, and Man City just bossed them, took control of the game. They deserved the luck.
It seemed like they were dominating them so much that it was frustrating the PSG players, because I mean you could see Paredes kicking out, and then Idrissa Gueye with the silly tackle on the Achilles of I think it was Gundogan. I mean you can see the frustration from them because clearly they weren't getting on the ball. City dominating, they own the ascendancy if really.
That's the problem PSG have anyway, because in the French league, whatever game they play, they're dominating. So they don't come up against it. They don't come up against a team who can suffocate them and starve them of possession and completely dominate every facet of the game, on the ball, off the ball, and kind of dictate completely to them. And the other thing City do is they are excellent at tactical fouling. It'll always be someone different, but they were happy to keep taking down Neymar or anyone who potentially is going to turn and create a counter attack. They'll just stop it at source. It's not just that they're going to press high and dominate you. If you beat the press, they're going to do the dark arts and just trip you up and take a yellow, and it'll be someone different all the time. So it's just a smart team.
So would you say PSG they lacked that experience, know-how, even though them being the final
I think partly, I think mentality-wise, they kind of got bullied by City. I think City showed that drive and that hunger and that determination and kind of took control of the game. PSG couldn't match it. They had no ideas to match it. They didn't change their formation. They didn't change their tactics. They didn't do anything to counteract it. Really, I was quite disappointed in Pochettino in that he wasn't reacting to what was going on in the game. I mean, the goals came quite late, 64th minute, I think, and then, 70 odd minutes. That's more than enough time for you to realize you can't even get out your half.
Yeah.
I need to change something. I need to change the dynamics of the game. And he tried eventually by dropping, Verratti in a bit deep, but all that did was that just kept them camped in a bit more. And I think, yeah, they missed a trick, and the only changes they made was because Idrissa Gueye got sent off.
Yeah.
They put two defensive midfielders, but I think PSG lacked ideas once City, figured out how to press them.
I mean, it's as much as everyone might say, oh, Man City got two away goal lead. and look like they're in a pole position to kind of put. They are in a pole position, but with that attack that PSG have, 2 goals, it still doesn't seem comfortable. Do you think maybe City should have just, because they had their blood, they were 10 men, should have gone for the third goal a bit more?
I think they did. I think they did. I don't think you can criticize City. I mean, they continued to attack. They continued to search for goals when they went a man up. They were pushing. It wasn't like, we've seen City when they got a lead and they're happy. They just pop it off and kill time by playing with no risk. They were still pushing, players forward. They're still trying to get those goals. I think Foden had a header.
Create a great chance with the dribble as well. Went past two or
Yes.
three.
So I just think, they were pushing. PSG, I mean, the one thing to say is Kimpembe. I mean, he's been poor recently. Even against Bayern, he was poor. Even in league games, he's been poor. A lot of the mistakes happen because of Kimpembe. If you want to be honest, the first goal, Navas is poor. Because there was no one attacking that for him to not follow that ball in. There was no one even near that cross. You get it? For him to go.
I mean, the only thing I could see him thinking maybe Stones will get it, but Stone was still about 5 yards away.
I mean, we're talking about elite players. They know when.
Yeah. No, I'm just trying to say maybe in his eye line.
No, there's no excuses there, man. I mean, that came from quite far out. It wasn't right on the edge of the box. It was quite a fair bit distance. The ball traveled a long distance, and he just decided. Maybe he just didn't expect the spin on the ball, but that's just poor. And I mean, Navas is a very good keeper, so can't be too harsh. But it was his fault.
Would you say the second one was his fault?
Nah, I mean that's Kimpembe, turning on the wall. You can't expect a keeper to, expect the wall to collapse like that. I mean, it's terrible from Kimpembe, and that's the thing. Kimpembe has been playing poor for quite a few games in defense. He always looks better with Marquinhos there, and that's why he didn't probably make even more bigger mistakes. But City definitely got what they deserve just because of the dominance of the second half, and PSG. Mentality-wise, they definitely choked. They went so deep, so defensive, and they had no outballs. Second half, they weren't a threat. There was nothing that they did in the second half. They tried playing Mbappe a few times over the top, but Ederson was, who's one of the best with his feet anyway. Was sweeping up, but like Manuel Neuer does, he was just coming out and sweeping up easily. And other than probably one cross that Verratti nearly got, and then the PSG just were not a factor in the second half. They had nothing.
I mean, it seems like everything's against them because I mean, I was reading a stat. It said an English side has gone like 40 in the knockout stages, 47 games where they've gone into a lead in the first leg, and they've never lost in terms of they've always progressed. So
but stats don't mean nothing. I mean, stats don't play the game. Yeah, they don't mean nothing.
Still, PSG still got a chance, you say?
Those stats anyway are always lopsided because at the end of the day, most of the time, the English team is the stronger team. Most of the time, teams at home win their games, go through. Do you get it? So I just think it's another one of those useless stats that don't really mean anything. I can't see PSG getting 2 goals. I mean, they have to get 2 goals to go through.
Yeah.
They have to get at least 2-0. And I think it suits City because City is like a team that can play chess, very good at playing chess. If you have to come out and do something against them, then they, and they've shown a flexibility in their tactics and game plan. They'll be happy to play on the counter, drop deep, play on the counter, and suddenly hit PSG on the break. So I just think I don't know. At the you can never say never because you can get dodgy decisions, you can get a soft penalty, you can get a red card. A lot can happen, but you know, if it was just a normal game, just looking on, the way teams play, I can't see PSG scoring 2 goals, without
I mean, I still see Man City scoring in the second leg.
going for them. Yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, let's be honest. Other than the Foden chance, they didn't open up PSG with clear cut. The goals were, very lucky goals.
Lucky, yeah.
Both of them won't go on a normal day. Both of them don't go in. So City still have the same question marks in terms of, do they really have that clinical player that'll put away the chance when it comes? They don't. Probably Mahrez and Foden are the most clinical players. You can add Gundogan, but he's not pushing up as forward as much.
But they're not in that 6-yard box or anything. That's the problem I'm saying. There was a lot of crosses coming into those zones, but there wasn't actually anyone there to kind of impact the play.
So that's why I think PSG will rue the fact that they ended up losing this game, because even though they went defensive and they really struggled to impose their game in the second half, they still didn't give up clear-cut chances. I mean, the one clear-cut chance was when they got pressed in the first half and lost possession in their own half, and Foden was free. But other than that, I mean, they Paredes, great. They were shielding the defense well. The defense was so narrow. All City had was space out wide, really. So they'll regret the lapse in concentration, really. I mean, and that's what it comes down to, is City tire you out. I mean, City, the way they control bully and, win that ball back, and you get starved of possession, it's mentally draining. You have to concentrate on defending the whole time, and eventually that catches you out, and it caught out Navas and it caught out Kimpembe.
I mean, it seems like this City team has that belief now that we can do it, we belong here. That's what it seems like.
That's the impressive thing in the second half, is they played with that belief, where we're gonna take this game by the scruff of the neck, and just shows they got real strong teamwork. They're close. Team spirit is close, and that first half they got outplayed in the first half. PSG looked so composed. You just couldn't see the second half playing out as dominant.
Like we did.
It was, City really did show the hunger, the attitude, the desire, and to really take the game on. And that was the impressive thing, is they're in a real good place mentally. There's nothing, they got belief, nothing shaking their belief. They're 1-0 down, kind of, getting schooled because of the way PSG were pressing in and taking the ball in tight spots and beating the press. And still they came out strong in the second half. It's really impressive.
Great character from Man City, and I mean, credit to the team for what they've done, and great comeback for them. I mean, I would say tie is still there. I mean, with the special players,
you can't rule it out when you got special players.
Like Mbappe and Neymar. I mean, it's still open. They could do 2 magic moments, and it'll be.
I think it's going to come down to, the only way I can see PSG going through is if City's defenders or keeper or someone or refereeing decision goes for them, PSG, because let's be honest, whenever City have lost, it's been because of the same reason that PSG conceded the goal. It's been individual errors. It's been a bad mistake from a centre back, Stones, or someone. Do you get it? So that's really the only way. And to do that, you got to press. You got to press. You got to force the error. And PSG didn't do that the whole game. So they'll have to change their approach. They gotta, they need to work on them.
Do they have the personnel to do it? Because I mean, what I thought, I mean, I get the idea of what they were trying to do, try and play Verratti more forward, but Verratti is not that much of a presser in terms of in that position. So maybe they lost out
So
on there.
he
Not
reads
playing
the game. He
Drexler.
reads the game well, innit? So he ends up intercepting a lot of the balls,
Mm.
and he does press. I mean, he did it quite well even in the first half. But the thing, yeah,
I mean, as in someone more aggressive. That's what I mean, especially on those areas.
I think Verratti is very aggressive in his pressing.
Okay.
Maybe he doesn't have the energy because he's always, coming off an injury. He's not
Yeah.
playing regularly. Maybe you could say physically he's not up to scratch, for a game of this magnitude. But PSG will definitely need to change their approach off the ball if they want to have a chance. Or else,
Pochettino is a brilliant coach. I'm sure he will come up with something for the second leg to change.
Yeah, that's the thing. But the thing is, this suits City in it because City, because they know PSG have to score 2. They control the tactical game in it because they can make whatever adjustments they need to. Yeah. They know they don't need to score. PSG will always have to take more risk and more risk and more risk, which could leave them open.
Leave them more space, space in behind. I mean, Adil, thank you for your fantastic insight into today's game. Guys, do keep watching, like, share, subscribe, and share out to families and friends. And yeah, thank you for watching. We also have the Europa League analysis coming out for tomorrow. We have the United versus Roma and Arsenal versus Villarreal game. So yeah, do keep an eye out. Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Adil.